Hello, 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 beautiful. How are you? I hope that you are well. I hope that you're smiling. I hope that you're feeling good, feeling wonderful. It's Monday morning. Yeah. Um, I want to share another tip with you for this month of February. As I mentioned, this is a month where I'm sharing different tips about our relationships, all of our relationships, and different ways that we can make them more loving. And so, this tip number four, tip number four that I want to share with you is to stay in the present. Stay in the present. Try to stay in the present when you're communicating with your loved one, with your family member, with your children, and especially people who are truly in your heart. Try to stay in the present, especially if there's a lot of pain of the past, and much of the pain comes from perhaps you all have worked through issues in the past, you've resolved them, you've perhaps feel like you've overcome them, but you may have a habit or a tendency to bring up things in the past, right? This happens very often, usually in love relationships, and oftentimes even with your children. This can happen. You bring up some other things that they did, and maybe they're trying to make an improvement, maybe they're trying to show you something different, and you're bringing up the stuff that they always did. You know what I mean? You get into those kind of conversations with your teens when they start getting older, and when you call them on that, and they'll call you on a comment. It's like, well, you keep holding that against me, and I'm changing. I'm doing this or that better. You know what I mean? And that happens in loving relations, especially like marital and intimate relationships, and it can really dampen the relationship if you're always bringing up old things, hurtful things, painful things. There are ways to deal with those problems. If it's still bothering you, then that does mean that you guys need to talk about it and have a little bit more time. And you as a person, if you're still dealing with it yourself, then you may need to take some extra time to find ways to heal from that. And some of that healing may not necessarily involve the other person. It may have to deal with something within you that you're dealing with that you have to take care of. But if at any random time, any random disagreement that you guys are having, or even just regular conversation, if you're bringing up old stuff all the time, it stunts the growth of the relationship. You can't move forward. It keeps you always looking in the past, and trying to correct. It also creates an environment where people feel like they're not being trusted, that the other person is always holding something against them, and they can't really flourish in that kind of environment or relationship, right? So we don't want to do that. I think about when I was in the classroom, this is another one of those things in administration. An administrator mentioned to us in one of our meetings. There's so many things you can learn as a classroom teacher. I'm telling you, it's a wonderful career in many ways. It's a lot of stuff that teachers go through. I send blessings. I got to put y'all on my table to always pray for teachers. I pray for my children's teachers, but just a general prayer for all teachers. Let me send out some light to you guys, especially under everything that has happened. But anyway, with teachers, there's so many things you learn about people, about relationships, about leadership, about management, about organization. You just learn so many things as a teacher, as a school teacher. But one of the things my an administrator said was that a lot of times you have these things that happen in the classroom, and it may be you and another student. Y'all, you're having to chastise them for whatever reason. They're causing maybe problems in the classroom. Maybe they're having a really bad day, whatever is going on with them. And then that day ends, and you're like, oh my goodness, because of whatever you experience with that child. And then you're thinking about that. You may be thinking about that as you go home through the night or whatever. And then the next day, you may still have that on your mind. Meanwhile, the child comes back to school like, it's over, it's done. They're ready to move forward. And they don't want you pulling them back into the past. And they're like, they want you to treat them fairly. And fair would be not totally holding it against them, everything they did in the past. Even they may have to get a consequence or punishment if they did something that was worthy of it, but simply holding a grudge against them the next day or the next days after that, and not treating them fairly along with the other children is not good practice. And it's not good practice in our loving relationships with our family and friends, and even with other people who you meet on the job. Okay, so trying to have an open heart in some ways. You don't need to necessarily have a bleeding heart, and you don't need to open yourself up that much with people, but in having a loving relationship with people, try to stay as much in the present of what you're dealing with, and look towards a positive future, especially for those loving relationships. All right, that's it for now. If you like to give it a thumbs up, please share, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, be beautiful inside and out. All right, peace.